Have you ever wondered why you leak a little when you sneeze or run, even though your doctor says everything's just fine? There's a support system in your body most women have never heard about, and that makes leaks better or worse. And this support system is called the fascia. In the next few minutes, I'll walk you through what fascia is, how it affects your pelvic floor and the bladder, and I'll give you some first steps to start paying attention to it. So, what is actually fascia? In simple terms, it's a thin, stretchy connective web of tissues that wraps and links everything in your body. So, think of this full bodysuit or a spider web that wraps your entire body. In this situation, when one area bunches or snugs, it will pull everything with it and then create restrictions in some distant areas of the body just because everything's connected. And the fascia is everywhere. It's around your muscles, your organs, and yes, it is also around and within your pelvic floor and your bladder. This isn't just some anatomy trivia. It's actually a very important fact that when the fascia changes, it can change how supported your bladder feels day to day. So let's talk a little bit more about fascia, pelvic floor, and the bladder support. The bladder and the urethra sit on top of a hammock of muscles and fascia, and that is called the pelvic floor and its fascial support. Healthy fascia helps us. It allows the pelvic floor to move, to respond, and to support the bladder when you cough, jump, or lift. But what happens if the fascia isn't healthy? So when it's tight, thickened, bunched up, or stuck, maybe from surgeries or adhesions, maybe from birth, posture patterns, slouching all day in front of your computer, the fascia can tug on the pelvis and ribs. It can change how the pelvic floor holds tension or relaxes. And then what happens is those shifts, how the bladder is positioned and supported, because the pelvic floor has to then fight against the tightness in the fascia. So again, for example, if the front of your body is tight because you're bending forward a lot, that front panel of your bodysuit is pulling everything forward and down. And then the fascial pelvic floor has to fight against it all day. What happens, it puts pressure on the bladder, which then cannot really perform properly. All right, so let's talk about some everyday cues that your fascia may be involved in the problem if you're leaking. So let's notice a few patterns instead of blaming the bad bladder. So have you had a history of C-sections, maybe abdominal surgeries, tummy tucks? Maybe you had some tearing during birth. Do you have a long-term job desk where you sit in front of the computer all day? Your posture rounded, you're tucking your tailbone under you all day? Or are you just feeling tight or tense or stressed out? Do you feel tightness in your hips, your lower back or belly? Is it even happening when you're resting? So if the fascial web is stiff or sticky, your pelvic floor may feel like it's always on or always off. And both of the situations are actually very suboptimal. And this is why the bladder leaks. So, we often are told, just do your Kegels, strengthen your pelvic floor. It is not correct. There is a limitation to just strengthening your pelvic muscles. If the fascial system is stiff and the pelvic floor is already clenched or out of balance, adding more squeezing doesn't fix the underlying tension. It doesn't fix the underlying problem, right? It's actually adding more to the incoordination and the imbalance in the pelvic floor. So for many women, we need to think fascia first. Release and restore movement in that web so the muscles can actually do their job. So let's talk about some simple steps to start noticing the fascia. So number one, gentle body scan. Notice where you tend to grip. Maybe your jaws are tight, your ribs, your belly, your shoulders, your pelvic floor. Is it tight and constricted all day long? Maybe because you're actually anticipating that your bladder can leak. Then position check. How you sit. Are you slumped? Is your tailbone tucked under you? Are you rigid? and tight because maybe this job is so stressful. And how is that actually tugging on your pelvic floor or that bodysuit of your pelvic floor? Now, breath awareness. Are your ribs and belly able to expand freely, or does everything feel tight and high up in the chest when you try to breathe? Okay, or you don't have to diagnose yourself, of course. It's not your job. But what I want you to do is just notice a few patterns and think about your history. Again, think, have you had any surgeries? Have you had any C-sections? Just review, go back in time, and think about what can actually contribute now to be tightening your fascia. So if you're leaking and you've been told everything's just fine with you, your fascia may be the missing piece. I want to invite you to look at my full-length article that's linked below. I break down more examples, visuals, and practical next steps so that you can start shifting how your fascial system supports your bladder. If you're ready to stop just living with leaks and want a deeper practical 101, click the link and read the full breakdown. And please don't forget to leave your comments. Let me know how this resonates, and let me know if you found any special patterns in your fascia that may be actually affecting your bladder. Until next, this is Monica, Thrive in Your Body.